Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Are You Listening with Abigail and Corny, who is so tired. If anyone is watching the visual, you'll be able to see he's so tired. Am I being naughty putting him on the bed? Yes, because have we still been having some issues with sleep? Yes. Last night decided to wake us up at 3:30 in the morning, crying and tapping on his crate. Let him out for a wee, went for a wee, then continued to cry when I put him back. Luckily, he did actually end up going back to sleep. So he then heard my alarm go off at 6:45 and then we got up. But when I say that broken sleep really knocks you, I give so much credit to, people that have got kids anyway. But anyone that's got kids, my goodness, this isn't even half of what people have with kids. And it's tough. It's tough, isn't it, little dude? So he's not actually meant to be on the bed, but we're going to allow it for today because we are recording a podcast episode. And I do think that I don't mind it for the podcast episode. And yeah, hopefully you sleep a little bit better tonight because we have a very tired mummy, don't we? Don't we, Corny? Don't we, baby? Right, I hope everyone is well. Hope everyone's having a lovely Sunday. I was putting a lot of pressure on myself actually this week when it came to episodes because I'm on the countdown now for the last few before I turn 30, and that's kind of what the premise of this podcast has been, that lead up to 30, turning 30, being in my late 20s. I've been putting a lot of pressure on making sure that these episodes are really, really good, when actually I was like, I don't think I should change anything because the feedback I get from all of you has been great, so I'm not sure where this pressure is coming from. I've already planned what episode I'm going to be doing like the week I turn 30. That'll be something not even that much different, but something about turning 30 because I feel like it makes sense. But these ones, I've been putting a lot of pressure on myself. And I wanted to talk about something that made sense for the last few weeks that I have had, because that's kind of the point of the podcast. And I wanted to kind of go in with, I think if anyone listened to my Planning 2026 episode, you would have seen that one of the steps is like choosing a word of the year, which I have done now for the last few years. And I really love it because I feel like any decision or anything that happens in your year, you need to just come back to that word and be like, right, is it relevant to this word? Will that help me make my decision? So I think I actually said at the time that I wasn't going to tell you what my word is, but it's really not that deep. So my word this year is aligned, and I wanted to just make sure that everything I do this year aligns with what I actually want to be doing or the bigger picture. So that's why I chose the word. And because of that, I kind of wanted to talk about the idea of when to say yes to things, when to say no to things, and staying aligned to what you want your year to look like or your life to look like. So the reason I wanted to talk about this is, yes, my word of the year is aligned. Love that. But it actually aligns with what has happened in the last week. So within the last week, I have done quite a lot of things that probably pushed me out of my comfort zone, I suppose. Last Thursday, I did my first piece of public speaking that I've never done before. I never thought I would be someone that would do any form of public speaking, and I would always watch other people do it and just think, there is no way in hell I will ever do that. Just not my vibe. Scary. Don't want to do it. Anyway, I did do it. Went really, really well. And then at the beginning of this week, I had 3 days in a row where I was teaching beginner courses to students who had never done lash lifts before. Amazing. Now, I have actually taught that before to level 2 students before at this college. So that it did still push me out of my comfort zone because it does every time I do it. But I have done it before. But obviously the first time I did it last year, it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. So yeah, I kind of wanted to just talk about how the importance of saying yes to things while still staying aligned, rather than just saying yes to everything just to make sure that everyone's happy, even if it makes you feel awful, if you don't feel good afterwards. And I just, finding the difference between saying yes because something scares you, saying no because something scares you, and being like, oh, I'm not going to do it because it doesn't align with what I actually want to be doing, but actually saying no, you're actually saying it because you're scared, as opposed to saying no to something because it genuinely does not align with what you want to be doing. And there is a difference, and it's not always easy to tell the difference. So that's what I want to talk about. So, like I said, my goal for the year, my word of the year is align, and I do want to align my actions with what feels right. I think it is just because last year was quite a mentally challenging year, and I do feel like there was a lot of things I had to put myself on the back burner, which of course there's always going to be times in life where you have to do that, and at the time it was necessary. But I think that's why I specifically, but anyone cannot live like that forever. You do have to come to a point where you do have to then start to put yourself first again. So that's what this year has been for me. Last year was very making sure others were okay, putting myself on the back burner, being that person for other people. And this year it is much more about looking after myself, even if it comes across as a little bit selfish sometimes. I will always try to think of others, in my situations and decisions. But if something doesn't feel right and it really, really is affecting me, then I will absolutely be saying no to doing that. And it could be anything. It could be like a habit. It could be anything. A plan, a habit. I'm trying to think of anything else. Anything to do with work. Yeah. So I think that there is a real difference between pushing for growth versus staying in what your comfort zone and what just feels comfortable. So yeah, that's what I just think, especially in your early 20s, if anyone is listening to this and you're younger, I do think sometimes you say yes to things because you're scared not to. Like, you just worry about what other people will think. You worry about how other people will think of you and how it will affect you, and just people pleasing. And I do think as you get older, that naturally does you start to care a lot less about what other people think. And like I said, as long as you're not genuinely going out of your way to upset someone, or you can talk about why the decision you have, then there is absolutely no reason you should be saying yes to things that make you feel super, super uncomfortable. But you do need to say yes to some things because that's what will push you to reach kind of your next step of life. The public speaking thing, I'm going to use this as an example. I was asked to do this the end of last year, and I just said yes without even thinking about it, because it definitely is something that's been on my list, especially as being a lash tech, an educator, working with Lash Base, working with the Lash brand, doing all of them things. I didn't want to say no, because realistically the only reason I would have said no would have been because it was scary. That is all. That is the only reason I would have said no. So I said yes without thinking about it, and was like, I will think about that later. And then it did give me a lot of anxiety, but it was more nerves than anxiety. There is a real difference. If something's genuinely making you anxious, you're like, this doesn't sit right, that's different from being nervous about something and being a bit scared. So yeah, I said yes. It felt very aligned with what I want to be doing and where I want to be going with my career and the teaching side of things, even though it was really uncomfortable and scary, really scary. Teaching. Last year, I said yes to that. Again, I said yes without really thinking about it, and was like, I will deal with that when it comes to it. I wanted loads of answers to things. I was really worried about how it's going to go, and it went really well. It went so well. I've been back since then. I did 2 days last January. Went back about May, and then I went back in November, and then I was back for 3 days now because they specifically asked for me to come in and teach. Now, if that doesn't say you made the right decision, then I don't know what does. And I really enjoy it. Was I nervous going into it these 3 days? Yes. I've been at that college now 4 times. This was now my 5th, 6th and 7th time. Was I nervous every day? Yes. I taught the same thing 3 days in a row, and I was still nervous every time I did it. I still woke up feeling really, really anxious and really nervous. But felt very satisfied at the end of it. I always come out at the end of teaching feeling so fulfilled. Everyone had good results, and just to be able to stand there and be like, I did that, like they got them results because I taught them that, it feels very aligned with what I want to be doing. So I'm glad I did that. Yeah, and I just think like it's really important to be able to tell the difference between the two. I easily could have been like, if you would have asked me a year ago about the public speaking thing, I would have said no, and I felt like that would have probably aligned to me at the time. I was not ready to do public speaking. I absolutely wasn't. Do I feel like I'm ready to do it now? And I'm not saying I will feel ready to do it to like 100 people, but I feel a lot better about it. I got very, very good feedback, really good feedback, and it just made me feel like, okay, maybe I am quite good at this. So yeah, I just think it's really important to make decisions and actually really think about, right, what is aligned to you and yeah, what isn't. And like I said, when I said yes to doing these things, I felt energized because that's what made me say yes, even though it was scary. But when I leave them and I've done them, like I think because I had a glimpse of that energy, that excitement when I said yes, even though it was really scary, then I get really nervous and then I do it and I get that buzz of like, oh my God, I did it. I did so good. I love it. I just think that that's what makes me say yes to these things now. If I get a glimpse of that feeling I'm going to get afterwards, then I will want to say yes. If I don't get a glimpse of them things, then I feel like my intuition is very strong. Like I know that I've always felt very like, if my gut is telling me yes, then it's probably true. There's probably some truth to it. And I would feel like I'd say 99% of the time I'm right. 99% of the time I'm right. And so if I do get a glimpse of that like excitement, even though if it quickly turns into nerves and be feeling scared, then I'm like, okay, this feels right to do. I will be able to do it. So yeah, it felt right and it was right and I did really, really well. So yeah, how do you recognize the fear versus misalignment? This could be really, really hard. Like I said, I think examples of when it's like fear and it doesn't align for me personally, and I don't know if anyone else feels like this, I feel like it's like an instant like tight chest, wanting to just avoid it, just being like, oh, like that just doesn't feel right, just doesn't feel good. I didn't get like that glimpse of excitement. I didn't get a glimpse of, oh, that might really push me there. It was just an instant, oh, no, don't want to do that. Whereas like examples of alignment, like I said, there will be a glimpse of that energizing feeling. It's like challenges that I want to face. So like the public speaking thing, it always has been something I've thought about, oh, maybe I would quite like to do that, even though it's scary. So when it presented itself, it's like, obviously I'm going to do it. And there is a feeling of, okay, well, if I do that right, I'm going to feel really fulfilled about that. But it is very subtle. It's such a subtle difference, and it's personal to everyone. Obviously, some people might be given the opportunity to do public speaking, and then when it, like, you know, when they're presented that, it'll be like, nope, absolutely not. So I don't feel like there's that one universal way of knowing if something is aligned to you at all. And I think a lot of it is just noticing patterns over the years of myself. I don't have like a checklist of being like, right, well, have I felt this? Have I felt this? Have I felt that? It really is just a feeling, and knowing the distinction between, I don't know, like the distinction has become slightly more clearer as I've got older. So I do feel like maybe that's something that just like comes with age. You also care a lot less as you get older. I was reminded very much yesterday when I was teaching, because a lot of them are like 16, 17, 18, how much you care about things at that age. Like I was teaching and I kept saying, does anyone have any questions? And 99% of the time, like, no one will put their hand up. And I remember being that age, I would never, ever, ever have put my hand up at that time. Whereas now, if I've got a question, even if it's like a stupid question, I was in that environment, of course, I'd just put my hand up and just ask. Because I know for a fact, if I'm thinking it, like, someone else is probably thinking that too. So I do think that just comes with, like, with age, if I'm honest. So a lot of that is, yeah, getting older, I suppose, and just caring a lot less what people think. So like how I'm practicing like alignment in daily life, and I think I kind of spoke about the things that I'm doing to make myself feel good in previous episodes, or like the first episode back after I had a break, like coming into the new year. So like just making intentional choices about everything. So like, even though like last night before bed I really could not be bothered to do any of my EFT tapping, I always feel even 1% better going to bed after doing it. So I will be forcing myself to do it even though I don't want to. Like going for a walk today, like I easily could have taken the shorter route to take Corny on a walk today because he actually wasn't feeling it. And I was like, no, we need to get some extra steps in. He needs to get a bit more stimulation. I need some more steps. And like pushing myself to do that rather than being like, actually, if that didn't align in that moment, being like, I'm really, really tired, then I wouldn't have pushed myself to do that. Even kind of coming down to like work. Did anyone see that? Corny literally just like smacked the mic. I don't know if it made a noise there. Yeah, also just like saying thing like yes to like work that I accept is like another big thing too. Like if I was given an opportunity, or I don't know, maybe something was presented like, do you want to do this? Like I don't feel worried about saying no now. Like if it just doesn't align to what I want to be doing, then yeah, I very happily will say no, like no, I don't think that's going to be something that I want to be doing, and that's totally fine too. Also down to things like socially, I've spoke about this many, many times, saying yes or no to social things. And there is a real difference between saying no to things just because you can't be bothered, even though you should go see your friends, even though you should get yourself out and about, and saying no because it's like, actually, I will be really pushing myself money-wise. I don't feel like I'm missing out going on this. I don't need to be going for another dinner if I've already been for loads. So it is just also being like, intentional about things like basically being intentional about like the little things too. So yeah, and like I say, saying no gracefully rather than like feeling bad and just saying yes for the sake of it, and finding a balance between challenge and comfort. So like I very much want to feel comfortable this year while still pushing myself out my comfort zone, because like no one grows in the comfort zone, we all know that. So I do think that there is a real importance of pushing yourself, how far you want to push yourself. So like I'm not avoiding growing, because like already in January I've done a few things that I know that I have grown from already, which is incredible, but I'm choosing the growth that I actually want to be doing rather than like pushing myself in ways that I don't think I need to be pushing myself and pushing myself to burnout. I think that this approach, it has kind of, or like going into this year, I do have a bit of a different perspective on like how I want my year to go. And like I said, it is a bit more intentional, saying yes to things, saying no to things, doing that, not feeling bad about that either. I wonder if that just comes with the, I don't know, the lead up to 30. Like I don't want to go into my 30s really feeling like I'm still doing things that I did in my 20s that I didn't enjoy, or I do like, why am I still doing that, So I think maybe that's what it is. It's like I'm going into my 30s really wanting to be in like a good headspace. Yeah, just learning to notice like what feels right, and not because you're scared, and like actually stepping back when something like doesn't feel right is going to be really, really one of like the biggest intentions I'm doing for this year. So yeah, I hope that everyone enjoyed this episode. I thought it was relevant, and like I said, I was really overthinking this week, and I think maybe that's why like I felt like a bit of a pressure to record this episode, and I was a bit like, oh, like, do I have to do it today? I don't really know what I want to talk about. When I knew that I wanted to talk about this topic anyway, and I was just going to save it until after I turned 30. So yeah, maybe I'm just going to like take the pressure off a little bit more, talk about something that like feels good in the moment, because I feel like a lot of people will really, really appreciate this. Like everyone says like you get into your 30s and you really don't give a shit what people think anymore. So like this is probably the beginning of that. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Hope everyone is having a lovely Sunday, or whatever day of the week you are listening to this on. If, as always, if you are listening on Spotify, please subscribe, review, all that good stuff. Send this to someone that you think would enjoy it. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. As always, thank you so much for coming back every single week. I wish I was as sleepy as Corny right now. He literally is so tired. But yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.